There was a Spanish traveler who crossed the entire width of South America. Some years after the conquest of Peru had begun, he reported seeing huge cities.
Every once in a while, an ancient ruin whispers something no scientist can explain. Not a myth, not a metaphor, but a real physical clue that someone or something was here before us, and they knew more than we do now. In this documentary, we're going to unravel 25 real-world discoveries that don't just defy explanation, they threaten it. These sites shouldn't exist, and yet they do. By the end of this video, you'll see undeniable proof that mainstream archaeology has been hiding some of humanity's greatest secrets, and you'll understand why these discoveries threaten everything we thought we knew about human evolution and capability. Number 1. Pumapunku's machine-like precision. Deep in the Bolivian highlands, at an oxygen-starved altitude of over 12,000 feet, sits Pumapunku, a site that, according to everything we know about ancient capabilities, should not exist. These aren't just old stone blocks weathered by time, they're engineering marvels that showcase precision manufacturing on a scale that challenges our understanding of what was possible thousands of years ago. Modern laser measurements reveal tolerances of less than 0.1 millimeters across surfaces spanning several feet. To put this in perspective, this level of precision rivals that of modern CNC machines operating in climate-controlled factories. The stones feature perfect right angles measured to mathematical perfection, surfaces polished to mirror-like smoothness that reflects light like glass, and interlocking joints so complex they resemble industrial machine parts rather than hand-carved stone. The logistics defy explanation. Stone blocks weighing over 100 tons were somehow quarried from locations over 10 kilometers away, transported across mountainous terrain with steep grades and unstable ground, then lifted in position with millimeter accuracy. Number 2. The megalithic impossibility of Baalbek. In the mountains of Lebanon stands Baalbek, home to what may be the largest carved stone blocks ever moved by human hands. The Temple of Jupiter's foundations contain stones weighing over 800 tons each, but these pale in comparison to the true giants hidden in the nearby quarry. The stone of the pregnant woman weighs an estimated 1,000 tons, equivalent to the weight of 130 modern automobiles or a fully loaded Boeing 747. Recently, archaeologists discovered an even larger block beneath it, pushing the weight to astronomical levels that challenge the laws of physics regarding human capability. Modern attempts to move similar weights require specialized equipment that didn't exist in ancient times. The world's largest mobile crane can lift about 20,000 tons, but requires extensive ground preparation, counterweights, and multiple support vehicles. Ancient engineers had none of these advantages, yet somehow achieved the impossible. Number 3. The mathematical perfection of the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza contains over 2.3 million stone blocks, each precisely cut and fitted with gaps so narrow that a knife blade cannot fit between them. The mathematical relationships encoded in its structure suggest knowledge that supposedly wasn't discovered until thousands of years later. The pyramid's base covers over 13 acres and is level to within just 2.1 centimeters, a degree of precision that would challenge modern construction techniques. Its orientation to true north is accurate to within 3/60th of a degree, more precise than most modern buildings. Archaeological evidence suggests the pyramid was built around 2580 BCE, yet it demonstrates mathematical knowledge that mainstream history claims wasn't developed until classical Greek times, over 2,000 years later. The precision of construction required detailed architectural plans, advanced mathematics, and engineering knowledge that supposedly didn't exist. Number 4. Sacsayhuaman's impossible stonework. Above the ancient Inca capital of Cusco sits the fortress of Sacsayhuaman, showcasing stonework so precise that even the Spanish conquistadors, no strangers to impressive architecture, were amazed by its construction. The massive walls are built from blocks weighing up to 300 tons, each featuring dozens of angles that interlock perfectly with surrounding stones. The precision is beyond belief. Joints between stones are so tight that not even a sheet of paper can be inserted between them. Some blocks have been carved with over 30 different angles, each cut to perfectly match adjacent stones in a three-dimensional puzzle of staggering complexity. Modern analysis has revealed that many of the stones show evidence of vitrification, a process where intense heat transforms the surface of rock into a glass-like substance. This suggests the builders had access to technologies capable of generating temperatures far beyond what simple fires could produce. Number 5. The unfinished obelisk's advanced cutting. In the granite quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies an unfinished obelisk that would have stood over 130 feet tall and weighed approximately 1,200 tons when complete. What makes this monument remarkable isn't its size, but the evidence it provides of advanced cutting techniques used by ancient craftsmen. The obelisk was carved directly from the living bedrock using methods that left distinctive tool marks still visible today. These marks suggest cutting techniques far more advanced than the copper chisels and pounding stones traditionally attributed to ancient Egyptian builders. The precision of the cuts is extraordinary. Despite the granite's extreme hardness, it ranks 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale. The surfaces show smooth, even cuts with minimal variation in depth or angle. The scale of material removal is staggering. Hundreds of tons of granite were precisely carved away to shape the obelisk. Modern granite quarrying requires diamond-embedded wire saws, pneumatic drills, and industrial cutting equipment. Ancient Egyptians supposedly had none of these advantages, yet archived results that match or exceed modern standards. Number 6. Ollantaytambo's melted stone appearance. At Ollantaytambo, in Peru's Sacred Valley, massive granite blocks are fitted together with such precision that they appear to have been melted and poured into place rather than carved and assembled. The stones show no visible tool marks, and their surfaces are polished to mirror-like smoothness. Some blocks weigh over 50 tons and were somehow transported from quarries located on the opposite side of a deep valley. The logistics of this undertaking boggle the mind. Ancient engineers would have needed to lower massive stones down steep slopes, transport them across a river, then raise them up equally steep slopes on the opposite side. The precision of fitting suggests the builder had detailed advanced knowledge of how each stone would interface with its neighbors. This level of planning requires sophisticated surveying techniques, mathematical calculations, and engineering expertise that supposedly didn't exist in the pre-Columbian America. Number 7. The Coral Castle's impossible construction. Built in the 20th century by a single man named Edward Leeds Scullin, Coral Castle in Florida consists of over 1,100 tons of coral rock carved, moved, and assembled using techniques that remain mysterious to this day. Leeds Scullin, a slight man weighing barely 100 pounds, claimed to understand the secrets used by ancient builders of megalithic monuments. Working only at night and in complete secrecy, Leeds Scullin carved and moved blocks weighing up to 30 tons each. When asked how he accompanied such feats, he spoke cryptically about understanding the secrets of the pyramids and using the Earth's magnetic field to reduce the weight of stone. The precision of Coral Castle rivals ancient monuments. Massive blocks are fitted together with tolerances measured in fractions of inches. A 9-ton gate is so perfectly balanced that it can be opened with a touch of a finger, rotating on a bearing made from an old truck's drive shaft. Number 8. The Longyu Cave's missing debris. In Zhejiang Province, China, the Longyu Caves represent one of the largest underground excavations in ancient history. These artificially carved caverns feature precisely angled walls, uniform pillars, and sophisticated ventilation systems that demonstrate advanced engineering knowledge. The volume of stone removed from these caves is staggering, enough to fill a modern football stadium. Yet, despite extensive archaeological investigation, virtually no debris from the excavation has ever been found. Where did millions of tons of carved rock disappear to? The precision of the carving rivals modern tunneling techniques. Walls are cut at precise angles, pillars are uniform in dimension and spacing, and the ceiling's heights are consistent throughout each chamber. This level of accuracy requires advanced surveying equipment and mathematical planning. The caves were carved from solid sandstone using unknown techniques that left distinctive tool marks. These marks suggest cutting methods different from traditional chiseling, possibly involving some form of advanced technology now lost to history. Number 9. Derinkuyi's underground precision. Beneath the Cappadocia region of Turkey lies Derinkuyi, an 18-level underground city that once housed over 20,000 people. Carved entirely from solid volcanic rock, it features sophisticated ventilation shafts, water systems, communication networks, and defensive mechanisms. The precision of the carvings challenges understanding of ancient capabilities. Rooms are carved with perfectly flat floors and ceilings, walls meet at precise right angles, and the overall layout shows sophisticated urban planning. The engineering required to create functional living spaces for thousands of people underground represents a massive undertaking. The ventilation system is particularly impressive, featuring over 50 air shafts that provide fresh air circulation throughout all levels. These shafts are precisely aligned and demonstrate advanced understanding of airflow dynamics and atmospheric pressure. Number 10. The stone spheres of Costa Rica's mathematical perfection. Scattered across the remote Diquís Delta of Costa Rica are over 300 granite spheres that represent one of archaeology's most perplexing mysteries. These aren't roughly rounded borders shaped by natural erosion, but precisely crafted geometric forms that demonstrates mathematical perfection achieved through unknown methods. The spheres range in size from a few inches to over 6 feet in diameter, with the largest weighing approximately 15 tons. What makes them extraordinary is their near-perfect spherical geometry. Measurements reveal deviations of less than 2 millimeters from mathematical perfection across their entire surface. Creating a perfect sphere from granite requires sophisticated understanding of three-dimensional geometry and precision tools capable of maintaining consistent curvature across the entire surface. Modern craftsmen using industrial equipment find it challenging to achieve such precision, yet ancient builders created hundreds of these perfect forms using supposedly primitive tools. Number 11. The Yangshan Quarry's abandoned giant. In China's Yangshan Quarry lies an abandoned project that would have created the largest stone monument in human history. The unfinished stela would have stood over 230 feet tall and weighed approximately 6,000 tons, making it nearly 5 times heavier than any stone monument ever completed. The precision of the cutting is extraordinary considering the scale, despite being carved from solid granite. The surfaces show smooth, even cuts with minimal variation. The project was abandoned for unknown reasons, leaving behind evidence of ancient Chinese engineering capabilities that far exceeded their completed monuments. The logistics of such an undertaking are mind-boggling. Moving a 6,000-ton stone would challenge modern engineering capabilities, requiring specially designed transport systems and enormous cranes. Ancient Chinese engineers apparently believe they could accomplish such a feat using 15th century technology. Number 12. The Russian megaliths of Gornaya Shoria. In the remote Shoria mountains of southern Siberia, enormous stone blocks have been discovered that dwarf even the megaliths of Baalbek. Some of these blocks are estimated to weigh over 3,000 tons and show evidence of precise cutting and fitting. The blocks are composed of extremely hard granite and are fitted together with remarkable precision. The joints between stones are so tight that they appear to have been maintained rather than hand-carved. The location is so remote that reaching the site requires helicopter transport, making ancient construction even more mysterious. Russian geologists who have studied the site reports that the blocks show evidence of artificial shaping and positioning, yet the techniques used remain unexplained. The age of the construction is unknown, but the weathering pattern suggests extreme antiquity. Number 13. Heraklion, the Atlantis that was real. For over 1,200 years, the ancient Egyptian city of Heraklion existed only as whispered references in classical texts. Homer mentioned it in the Odyssey. Herodotus wrote of its grandeur, but no physical trace could be found. Maps showed empty Mediterranean waters where ancient writers placed Egypt's greatest port. Then in 2000, French archaeologist Franck Gaudiot made a discovery that rewrote history. Beneath 30 feet of water and centuries of sediment lay an entire metropolis, perfectly preserved by the sea that had swallowed it. This wasn't just any ancient sea. Heraklion had been Egypt's primary Mediterranean port of over 600 years, the crown jewel of the Nile Delta, where pharaohs collected taxes from foreign merchants and priests conducted ceremonies to appease the gods. The preservation is extraordinary. Massive stone temples still stand exactly where they collapsed, their walls intact after more than a millennium underwater. Colossal statues of pharaohs and gods, some over 16 feet tall, lie on the seabed exactly where they topped. Over 700 ancient ships rest in the harbor, their wooden hulls preserved by the anoxic conditions of the Mediterranean depths. What makes Heraklion's fate so disturbing is the complex absence of historical records describing its destruction. Evidence points to a catastrophe so sudden and complete that no one survived to record it. The city was built on the unstable waterlogged ground of the Nile Delta. When an earthquake struck, the phenomenon of soil liquefaction turned solid earth into quicksand in a matter of minutes. Number 14. The abandonment of Angkor, the lost jungle metropolis. In the heart of Cambodia lies Angkor, once the largest pre-industrial city in the world. At its peak around 1200 CE, this magnificent metropolis covered over 400 square miles and housed more than 1 million inhabitants, larger than any European city of its time. The Khmer Empire that built Angkor was a technological marvel. They constructed an intricate network of canals, reservoirs, and hydraulic systems that controlled water flow across hundreds of square miles. The famous temples like Angkor Wat were just the ceremonial heart of a vast urban complex featuring roads, neighborhoods, markets, and industrial districts. Then, around 1430 CE, something unprecedented happened. The entire population simply walked away. Within decades, the jungle began reclaiming temples, canals filled with sediment, and one of humanity's greatest urban achievements became a ghost city lost to the forest. Number 15. Great Zimbabwe Silent Stones. In the hills of southern Africa stands the ruins of Great Zimbabwe, a medieval city-state that controlled the gold trade between the interior and the Swahili coast. The site features massive stone walls built without mortar, yet engineered with such precision they've stood for over 800 years. The Great Enclosure, the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara, showcases construction techniques that required advanced engineering knowledge. The walls curve and undulate with mathematical precision, incorporated sophisticated drainage system and architectural elements that demonstrate a deep understanding of structural engineering. At its peak around 1300 CE, Great Zimbabwe was home to over 18,000 people and controlled trade routes stretching from the Zambezi River to the Indian Ocean. Archaeological evidence reveals a sophisticated society with specialized craftsmen, complex social hierarchies, and extensive international trade connections. Then, around 1450 CE, the city was mysteriously abandoned. The population dispersed, trade networks collapsed, and the Great Stone City became a silent monument to a vanished civilization. No written records explain the abandonment, and oral traditions provide only fragmentary clues. Number 16. The Anasazi Vanishing, America's Lost Civilization. Throughout the American Southwest, carved into cliff faces and perched on mesa tops, are the spectacular ruins of the ancestral Puebloans, formerly known as the Anasazi. These weren't simple dwellings, but sophisticated urban complexes featuring multi-story buildings, complex water management systems, and astronomical observatories. Mesa Verde's Cliffs Palace housed over 100 people in 150 rooms, carved directly into the rock face. Chaco Canyon featured great houses like Pueblo Bonito, with over 800 rooms connected by a network of roads stretching hundreds of miles across the desert. These weren't primitive shelters, but planned communities requiring advanced engineering and social organization. The ancestral Puebloans thrived for over 700 years, developing sophisticated agricultural techniques, creating beautiful pottery and textiles, and building some of North America's most impressive pre-Columbian architecture. Then, around 1300 CE, they simply vanished. Number 17. The Olmec Disappearance, Mesoamerica's Mother Culture. Along the tropical coast of ancient Mexico thrived the Olmec civilization, often called Mesoamerica's mother culture for its influence on later civilizations like the Maya and Aztec. The Olmecs created colossal stone heads weighing up to 40 tons, developed sophisticated astronomical calendars, and established trade networks spanning thousands of miles. The famous Olmec heads, carved from basalt and transported hundreds of miles from their quarries, demonstrated engineering capabilities that challenge understanding of ancient Mesoamerican technology. Each head is unique, suggesting they were portraits of specific rulers, yet the techniques used to carve and transport them remain unexplained. The Olmecs made groundbreaking contributions to human knowledge. They developed one of the world's earliest writing systems, created the concept of zero independently of old world civilizations, and established the long count calendar later adopted by the Maya around 400 BCE. Olmec civilization simply ended. Their cities were abandoned, their trade networks collapsed, and their advanced knowledge seemed to vanish overnight. Unlike other Mesoamerican civilizations that were conquered or gradually declined, the Olmecs appear to have deliberately walked away from their achievements. Number 18. The Harappan Civilization's sudden end. The Indus Valley or Harappan civilization was one of the world's most advanced Bronze Age cultures, featuring planned cities with sophisticated drainage systems, standardized weights and measures, and an undeciphered script that may hold keys to understanding their sudden disappearance. Harappan cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were marvels of urban planning. Streets were laid out in precise grid patterns, houses featured private wells, and bathrooms connected to covered sewers, and public buildings demonstrated advanced architectural knowledge. The level of standardization across the civilization suggests a sophisticated administrative system capable of maintaining quality control across vast distances. Around 1900 BCE, this advanced civilization simply vanished. Cities have abandoned in what appears to have been an orderly evacuation rather than a panicked flight. Houses were left swept clean. Valuable items were absent, and there are no signs of warfare or natural disaster. The script that might explain their fate remains undeciphered despite decades of scholarly effort. Over 4,000 inscriptions have been found, mostly on seals and pottery, but the language they represent is unknown. Number 19. Easter Island's ecological collapse. In the vast Pacific Ocean, over 2,000 miles from the nearest populated land, sits Easter Island, Rapa Nui to its inhabitants. This remote speck of land was home to a civilization that created nearly 1,000 massive stone statues called moai, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing up to 80 tons. The moai weren't randomly placed but carefully positioned around the island's perimeter, facing inland as if watching over the population. Recent discoveries reveal that many statues have full bodies buried beneath centuries of soil accumulation, and some were topped with red scoria hats weighing several tons each. Creating and transporting the moai required sophisticated engineering and social organization. The statues were carved at Rana Raraku quarry using basalt tools, then somehow moved across the island to their final positions. Recent experiments suggest they may have been walked upright using ropes, but the logistics of moving 80-ton statues across uneven terrain remain challenging even with modern equipment. When Europeans first arrived in 1722, they found a sparse population living on a deforested island dotted with toppled statues. The contrast between the massive stone monuments and the impoverished conditions of the inhabitants suggest a civilization that had collapsed from internal pressures. Number 20. Cahokia's mysterious abandonment. Near present-day St. Louis, Missouri, the remains of Cahokia represent North America's largest pre-Columbian city. At its peak around 1100 CE, this Mississippi culture metropolis housed between 10,000 and 20,000 people and featured over 120 eastern mounds, including Monk's Mound, the largest prehistoric earthwork in the Americas. Cahokia was a true urban center with specialized districts for different activities. The Grand Plaza covered 50 acres and was leveled and maintained as a central gathering space. Residential areas showed clear social stratification, with elite housing near the mounds, and the engineering required to build Cahokia was impressive. Monk's Mound alone contains over 22 million cubic feet of earth, all carried in baskets and precisely placed to create a stable 100-foot-high platform. The careful planning and massive labor investment suggest a highly organized society capable of coordinating large-scale construction projects. Around 1350 CE, Cahokia was largely abandoned, the population dispersed, the mounds were left unmaintained, and the great city became a ghost town. When French explorers arrived in the 17th century, they found out empty earthworks and no local memory of who had built them. Number 21. The Tiwanaku Empire's sudden collapse. High in the Bolivian Altiplano, near the shores of Lake Titicaca, lie the ruins of Tiwanaku, capital of an empire that dominated the Andes for over 500 years. This isn't just another archaeological site, but evidence of a civilization that achieved architectural and engineering feats that challenge understanding of pre-Columbian capabilities. Tiwanaku's monuments demonstrate precision engineering that rivals modern construction. The Acapana Pyramid was built with precisely cut stone blocks fitted together without mortar, featuring an internal drainage system that remains functional after over 1,000 years. The Kalasasaya temple incorporates astronomical alignments that track celestial movements with remarkable accuracy. The empire's influence extended from North Chile to southern Peru, uniting diverse highland and lowland populations under a common culture and religious system. Tiwanaku's agricultural innovations included raised field systems that increased crop yields in the harsh altiplano environment, supported a population density that wouldn't be equaled until modern times. Around 1000 CE, this sophisticated civilization simply collapsed. Cities were abandoned, trade networks dissolved, and the advanced agricultural systems were left to decay. Lake Titicaca water levels dropped dramatically, possibly due to climate change, but this alone doesn't explain the complete abandonment of such a successful adaptation to high-altitude life. Number 22. The Mycenaean Palace Destruction. The Mycenaean civilization dominated Bronze Age Greece, building impressive palaces, developing linear B script, and creating the cultural foundation for classical Greek civilization. Their palace centers at Pylos, Tiryns, and Mycenae itself were sophisticated administrative complexes that controlled extensive territories and trade networks. Mycenaean palaces were more than royal residences. They were complex bureaucratic centers with extensive archives, workshops, and storage facilities. The linear B tablets found in palace ruins reveal a highly organized society with detailed record-keeping covering everything from livestock inventories to land tenure systems. Around 1200 BCE, virtually all major Mycenaean palaces were destroyed within a short period. The destruction was so complete that the linear B script was forgotten and Greece entered a dark age that lasted for centuries. When Greek civilization re-emerged, it had to redevelop writing systems and urban organization from scratch. Number 23. The Mississippian Culture's Dispersal. Throughout the eastern United States, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, the Mississippian culture created impressive mound complexes and sophisticated chiefdoms that flourished from 800 to 1600 CE. Sites like Moundville in Alabama and Etowah in Georgia featured massive earthen mounds, elaborate burials, and evidence of long-distance trade connections. The Mississippian societies were among North America's most complex pre-Columbian cultures, featuring social stratification, specialized crafts, and monumental architecture. Their agricultural system based on corn, beans, and squash supported dense populations and allowed for the labor specialization needed to build massive earthworks. The decline of Mississippian culture began before European contact but accelerated rapidly after 1500 CE. Diseases introduced by early European explorers devastated populations, but many sites were already in decline. The reason of this pre-contract collapse remain unclear, but many involve environmental changes, internal warfare, or social upheaval. Number 24. The Ancestral Puebloan Great House Abandonment. In addition to the famous cliff dwellings, the ancestral Puebloans built massive great houses throughout the Four Corners region. These impressive structures, like Casa Rinconada in Chaco Canyon, required enormous investments of labor and materials but were used for relatively short periods before being abandoned. The great houses weren't typical residential buildings but specialized structures that may have served ceremonial, administrative, or astronomical functions. Their sophisticated architecture includes precise astronomical alignments, acoustic properties that amplify sound, and construction techniques that require advanced engineering knowledge. The systematic abandonment of these structures suggests a planned withdrawal rather than emergency evacuation. Many great houses show evidence of ritual closing ceremonies, with valuable items removed and doorways sealed with stone and mortar. This deliberate process implies the abandonment was a cultural decision rather than a response to immediate crisis. Number 25. The consciousness-altering chambers. Perhaps the most mysterious aspect of ancient monuments is their apparent ability to alter human consciousness. From the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid to the inner sanctum of New Grange, these spaces seem designed to induce transcendent experiences that modern science struggles to explain. The King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid is carved from solid granite blocks that contain high level of quartz crystal. When the chamber is empty, it resonates at a frequency of 110 Hz, the same frequency found to affect brain activity in laboratory studies. Visitors often report out-of-body experiences, enhanced intuition, and contact with non-physical entities. New Grange Passage Tomb creates a sensory deprivation environment that culminates in the dramatic illumination of the inner chamber during winter solstice. The combination of darkness, acoustic effects, and sudden light exposure creates conditions similar to those used in modern consciousness research. Many ancient temples incorporate architectural features that seem designed to affect perception and awareness. Precisely angled passages create optical illusions, acoustic chambers amplify or distort sound, and sacred geometry induces altered states through visual patterns. These 25 mysteries don't just challenge archaeology, they challenge us to expand our vision of human potential and question the limiting beliefs that constrain our understanding of what's possible. The past isn't behind us, it's calling to us, challenging us to remember what we've forgotten and reclaim the knowledge that was once ours.